We use money every single day, right? But have you ever really stopped to think about what it is? We usually just see it as, a number in our bank account, a tool to buy things. But today, we're going to dive into a totally different way of thinking about our finances. It's an idea from the philosopher Uchiyama Takashi, and it's all about something he calls the temperature of money. So let me ask you something straight up. Think about, say, 30 bucks you might have in your wallet right now, or just look at the balance on your banking app. Is that just a number, or could it represent something more? That's the big question we're really going to dig into. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start by exploring this whole idea of money having a temperature. Then we'll get into the world of cold money and contrast it with something called warm money. After that, we'll see where this warm money actually comes from. And finally, the really practical part, how you can start turning your own spending into warm money. Okay, so let's jump right in. The whole point here is that not all money is the same. I know that sounds weird, but think about it. A $100 bill is a $100 bill, right? Well, maybe not. The idea is that the exact same amount of money can have a totally different feel, a different quality, a different temperature, all based on how it's being used. So on one side of the spectrum, you've got what Uchiyama calls cold money. And honestly, this is the money we're all most familiar with. It's the currency of our modern world, right? It's totally impersonal, anonymous. Its value is just about what it can buy. It's money with no face, no story, and zero human connection. And this stuff, this cold money, it's literally everywhere. It's the lifeblood of the global financial markets. It's what corporations count as profit. It's the rent that automatically leaves your account each month, your pension payment, that insurance check you get in the mail. I mean, sure, it's super efficient, but it's completely stripped of any real human feeling or relationship. But what if there's another way? This is where the whole idea gets really, really cool. There's a powerful alternative to this cold, sterile system. And that alternative is warm money. Now, we're talking about the exact same bills, the same digital currency, but it becomes warm when it flows between people in a way that's packed with emotion, with care, with a real sense of connection. Suddenly, its value goes way beyond the number printed on it. Okay, here's a perfect example. Picture a grandmother buying a gift for her grandchild. Let's say she spends $30. That $30 is no longer just a number. It's now infused with all her love, her excitement to see her grandchild's face light up. That money is carrying a value that is totally, completely separate from its power to buy something. The source material puts it so beautifully. It says that value which can't be bought with money is carried on the money. The cash literally becomes a vehicle for something priceless, that human connection, that care. And that, right there, is the heart of warm money. So let's just break this down side by side. On the left, you've got cold money. Its value, purely what it can buy. Where is it from? Big, anonymous, global systems. It has no personality. But then look at warm money. It has that exchange value, sure, but it also has this added layer of relational value. It's born out of local communities, real human relationships. It carries a story. It shows consideration. Okay, so this is the big question, right? If warm money is so great, where do we find it? It doesn't just appear out of thin air. It needs a special kind of soil to grow in, a specific environment that, frankly, our modern economy tends to forget all about. You're not going to find it in the giant, faceless global market. No way. It's cultivated in what you could call local worlds. We're talking about communities where people actually know each other, where you see their faces, you interact. Your family, your circle of close friends, maybe even your street or a tightly knit neighborhood. And the secret ingredient, the absolute key to making these local worlds work, is one simple thing: trust. In these kinds of communities, your reputation, your word, it all matters. People rely on each other. And it's that deep well of trust that lets money be exchanged in a way that's about so much more than just a one-and-done purchase. And if you look back in history, you see these worlds everywhere. You had old village communities, you had guilds for craftsmen and merchants. In Japan, they even had these amazing urban mutual aid groups called ku. All of these were places where trust was the currency, and it allowed warm money to flow freely. So let's look at a really cool concrete example of this in action: the silk trade in a place called Yuno Village in Japan. You might think, oh, business, that's got to be cold money. But it wasn't like that at all. See, the whole system worked because it was built on long-term relationships. The farmers needed the merchants to sell their silk, and the merchants needed the farmers to produce it.
They were completely interdependent. It wasn't about squeezing every last penny out of a single deal. It was about making sure everyone could stay in business for the long haul. And that consideration, that mutual respect, it totally changed the nature of the money. It wasn't just a cold payment anymore. It was a warmer tool that literally held the community together.
Okay, so this is all really interesting, but it brings us to the most important part, the so what question. How can we actually use these ideas in our own lives? How do we push back against all this cold money and inject a bit more warmth into our own spending? How can we make our everyday transactions a source of real connection?
Well, one idea is to look to the past for inspiration, specifically that concept of the those mutual aid groups we talked about. Remember, these were basically just small groups of people built on trust who all agreed to pool their resources to help each other out when someone was in need.
And check out this comparison. It makes it so clear. On one hand, you have a typical insurance company. That's a cold enterprise, right? It's a huge anonymous system driven by profit. But on the other hand, imagine a small group of, say, 20 friends who make a pact. If anyone gets sick and has to go to the hospital, everyone chips in a little money. The money they give isn't just a payout. It's an act of friendship. It's a get-well card in cash form. It's money that has been warmed up by care and trust. So what can we do starting today? Here are 3 simple hints. First, try to build relationships with your spending. Instead of the giant supermarket, maybe go to the local baker where you can get to know the owner's name. Second, think about exchanging consideration, not just cash. A genuine smile, a thank you, just acknowledging the person behind the counter. That adds warmth. And third, think about creating your own little support systems. Even small circles of friends or neighbors who can rely on each other. It all makes a difference. And all of this leaves us with a really big question to think about. When we look at the kind of future we're building, which path do we want to take? Are we okay with a world that runs purely on cold, impersonal money? Or are we willing to put in the effort to consciously build the relationships and the trust that it takes to create more warm money in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and in our own lives? Ultimately, that choice is up to us.